Hey you all! Welcome and thank you for watching my ScAir B&B tutorial. I'm Vicki McCarty from Calico Patch Designs, and I'm here to share with you the tips and tricks I use to make my first block in this mystery stitch along. First thing, I will trace all of my wool applique pieces on Steam Light 2. Iron them on the wrong side of your wool. And I've been asked this before, but there's really no wrong side or right side to your wool. You just look at it and whichever side you like the best, especially if it's hand dyed, that's the side you will call your right side. And so you'll place your fusible onto the wrong side and then cut out on the drawn lines. The Steam Light 2 is available on my website if you have trouble finding it. So then I'll lay all my pieces out on my block so I can identify them all and make sure I'm not missing anything. I use an applique pressing sheet and slide my placement pattern under it. Since it's see-through, this will allow me to build up my pattern. Applique pressing sheets are available on my website also. I couldn't do applique without them. You're going to see just how easy it is. I started with the right side of the house since it's the farthest piece back in my picture. I peel the paper from the back of my fusible and lay it in place on top of my applique pressing sheet. Now if you're using a different type fusible that doesn't have the paper on the back, you may just fuse yours into place. Using a hot iron and steam, I fuse it to my applique pressing sheet. Now here I have moved the applique pressing sheet over to reveal the section that I just fused together. I always fuse my pieces into smaller sections because they're easier to handle that way. Next, I fuse this section together in the same manner as before. I find it's easier to make my roof pieces a little bit longer so that I can snip it off to match the left side of the roof and they look more even. So as you can see, I have two sections fused together now on my applique pressing sheet. After they cool down from the iron, I can peel them off of the applique pressing sheet and lay them sticky side up over to the side. Having all these smaller pieces already fused into place makes it so much easier and a lot more accurate because they have a little chance to move when you do it this way. Next, I will work on the other section, peeling the paper from the back and building it up to match the placement pattern under my applique pressing sheet. Once I have it laid out the way I want it, I can fuse it into place with lots of steam. Since that is what my fusible likes, I use steam to fuse mine down. Some of the applique fusibles don't require steam. So now that you can see the other sections through my applique pressing sheet, you can see the porch section is fused down, but you'll be able to see what other sections you need to work on. So go ahead and start laying out this section. The other thing I like about Steam Light 2 is it has a stickiness to the back of each piece. So when I peel the paper off, I can lay it down into place and it stays there. Now you can lift the piece back up to see if you are getting it in the correct placement. Like that shutter is crooked, and so you can see the shutter through the applique pressing sheet, and I can peel it up and lay it back down to make sure that I'm getting it in the right position. Again, by making my roof pieces a little longer, I'm able to snip it even with the other side and fuse it into place. After it cools, I can peel up these two sections and lay them aside to be able to work on the other sections. Now let's work on the left section of the house, peeling and placing pieces down on the applique pressing sheet to match placement pattern. As you can see, I have it all placed down, and I'm sure that I've clipped the roof off to match the rest of them again. Fuse it into place and leave this one in place. It's time to put our house together. Using the placement pattern and the applique pressing sheet, I can get this house to look very close to my pattern. Go ahead and lay the right side of the house down into place and just stick it down there, just finger press it down on the applique pressing sheet for now. Then lay the dormer on the top of these two pieces. Just remember, you have to build from front to back, or from back to front. Now the porch section is laid into place, and I just finger press it into place also. By finger pressing it, it will allow me to still be able to move it if I needed to. If I just went ahead and ironed each piece into place, then you couldn't move them anymore. So I want to be able to look at it and make sure I've got it right. Now add the last section. I usually at this point take the placement pattern from behind it and compare to make sure I haven't left something out. Once it looks good, take your iron and press it down. It will take a lot of heat to press through those layers, so take plenty of time in pressing. You don't want to rush this part. After it is cooled off, guess what? I can peel up the entire house off my pressing sheet and nothing falls off. Isn't that the coolest thing you've ever seen? Listen, I cannot do any type of applique without an applique pressing sheet. Now I'll center it up on my background, fuse it, and start stitching. Most everything has been stitched down with a blanket stitch. That's just my go-to stitch. But I just wanted to show you how easy it is to do a cross stitch. After I make my first stitch, I will lay my thread over the roof and decide if it's even by moving it up and down with my fingers. And then I will put my needle in right below it and come up from below on the other side of the roof. You can tell more about it here as I pull it across and I'm able to compare it. This way you don't have to mark anything and my needle goes right under where I lay my thread. When I get all the way to the top, I just turn and come right back down. And as you can see, you will go in the stitch in the front and out on the stitch behind. So it's really already marked for you. You're just using the stitches that you've already placed before as your stitching points. Okay, let me talk to you a little bit about Sulky Tear Easy Stabilizer. This is what I use to add the detail to my appliques, or anytime I'm doing, whether it's hand or machine applique. It's not really made to do this. I don't think it's actually made to go underneath when you're doing machine applique. But I decided that I wanted to try something different, and so I started by sketching my detail on the top of the tearaway, the Sulky brand Tear Easy tearaway. I don't know that all the other Tear Easy stabilizers are equivalent to this because some of them are a lot harder to tear away and they'll distort your stitches. I do know by experience that this one works. So what I'll do is draw like my spider web on here. I will pin it. You can see some pins on there. I pin it from the back side, and then I will go ahead and add my stitches to this. Once my stitching is done, the needle will perforate the Tear Easy stabilizer enough till it will just pull right off all the way around. Now I'll take my needle and I'll just flick those and the center pieces will come right out. But look how cute this is. I stitched it with Wonderfeel Glamour and the thread is just gorgeous with all the different colors of metallics wrapped in it. And then that little purple spider button just kind of sets it off. Now you can see how easy it was to tear away from my window panes. So again, I drew my window. I drew the outline of the window to help me know where to place it. That always helps me. And then did my stitching on top of it, just like you see here. And then once I start pulling, you can see as it's tearing away where I've perforated it with my needle. And look how cool that turned out. I just love it. And the detail on my porch is spooktacular. I like all the little buttons and the beads and all the stitches going along. Just adding the detail to these houses just make them that much more fun. The thread that I used in this was Wonderfeel brand threads. Eleganza is the size 8 pearl cotton that I used. And I also used a spool of the Glamour for the metallics. There's also a spool of black Eleganza that was left out of this picture that we have thrown in each of your all's kits for free. We actually forgot to put it in there, so you're actually getting that one for free. If you order the thread pack, yes. Now, we've sold out of this thread pack twice already, but we've gotten them back in stock again, so that we could get enough thread in to supply everybody. It's so hard for us to know when we start something new if you're going to like it or not. And I always order what I think's way too much, and you all just keep surprising me. So thank you so much for all of your orders. So guys, thank you all for watching this stitch along, or this tutorial, I'm sorry. And please follow us on Instagram and our Facebook page. I've always got something that I'm putting out there, some new stitch along to do. I would like to tell you about a little excitement we got in the shop yesterday. I had sent in a project to American Quilter magazine. And when we got the magazine in yesterday, I knew my project would be in it, but I had no idea it would be on the front cover. So I'm so excited to tell you that it made it to the front cover. So here is my quilt. Let's see if I can show you. This is my quilt. The pattern will be in the magazine. We do have kits and thread packs and everything available on our website now. So I just can't thank you all enough. I feel so blessed to be able to do something that I love so much and call it a job. So thank you so much, and see you next time.